Okay, part 3. So the inside triangle is basically urban, suburban, and austere environment. So now you have your person, you have like your environment, you have a certain control of the 10% of the 90-10 principle. So now you need certain skills to survive outside, and there's kind of again, to stay in the mindset of the tree zone. I've been kind of trying to think like, what would I need, like for example, for here to go out, what would I need to survive? And I kind of came with like there's kind of 3 zones or 3 group of surviving situation that you can have. First, I would have to get out of the city, which needs a set of skills on his own, or even to survive in the city. I mean, riots and stuff. So there's things that in a small, like in a suburban. So the tree zone is urban, suburban, and austere environment. And so in an urban environment, there's more chance of having a riot than in the top of a mountain. And there's also, because also it's all compact and it would be harder to get out of that situation than even in the suburban environment. So even in a small country, there's small outside the skirt, there's kind of a riot of some sort. There's still a lot of space in between houses, so there would be a way to get out of the main street that they have, versus in the main city it's more kind of a grid system. So the way the grid is functioning creates its own issue in a certain way as well. So the different skill set that you need to survive in the urban. Suburban would be again outside of big cities, but also I include in that like small town, because it's kind of about the same things. So mostly like a residential area, if you want. And then the third one is called austere environment. And the reason I call it austere is because a lot of time when you talk about wilderness, a lot of people think about the forest. If you read on YouTube, like, or if you watch YouTube a lot, that's a lot of the videos that we see. Forest, which is good, because I mean a lot of people are near forest. But like for example, me here, on top here, I do have forest, but mostly are mountains, and on the other side is water. So if I had to bug out, and for whatever reason I could do it on land and I have to do it in water, well, it's quite a different set of skills that I need to survive than forest survival or bushcraft. And it's a different set of skills as well than to be on the top of a mountain. Actually, the first episode, I think, of Survivor Man, he was on the top of a mountain here in BC. And until he reached the forest line, he was like, there's nothing really I can do here. Like, there's no way of putting a tent and stuff and everything. So it's 2 different sets. And that's why austere environment, it kind of comes from wilderness medicine. They still call it wilderness medicine, but there's kind of almost like a subspecialty now of austere environment, and they have a tendency to use that more generally, because under the umbrella, or wilderness medicine is more under the umbrella of austere environment, because austere environment as well include disasters, humanitarian, remote area, battlefields. So it's an environment that are austere, so that means it's very hard to survive or thrive in them, and so therefore when you need to provide care, it's even worse. So that's why I put it as austere. So why is it important to recognize this kind of the 3 zone is that you need 3 different set of skills to survive there. So yes, it's important to practice the bushcraft, but if you look, the bushcraft, first of all, that means you have to recognize the forest near you, and the second, it's only one of the 3. If you don't live in the cities, okay, you could, but you still would need, like, so even if you live in a small town, you still need kind of suburban skills to know about that. Because maybe you won't be able to get out and to go into your bushcraft place. Maybe you won't be able to be in the forest, or even the forest if everybody tries to go this way, we'll be surrounded by you won't have the space that you usually used to have when you go and practice, because right now there's not a lot of people. Again, it comes back to the previous video that I did, rules versus principles, as that people will go, if they go out of the city and they go towards like those suburban area and things, they'll bring the city with them. So that means like that forest that you had to all to yourself before, you were able to hunt and everything, and then you depend on this. Now suddenly it's not there anymore, because pretty much like every part of the land is covered by people. And also people will have the same principle, as they'll go to where there's the most resource. So if they need water and there's a river in this part of this part, they won't be surviving in this part here. They'll be surviving where the water is. And so now you have, I don't know, 100,000 people trying to survive in the same area that is over there and not on the other part. Which was exactly where you used to be when there was like nobody, because nobody used to go in those sides of the forest. So that's part of kind of like the thinking about principle and rules as well. So Urban, I've been thinking about doing course, and I'll put a link down of courses Heat, which is kind of because I may again, I've been thinking about many years, but I don't get employed. But now with more disaster happening, I may have a breakthrough now and get a job somewhere to go do some humanitarian medicine somewhere else. And so it's more about like kidnappings and stuff. So things that can happen in the urban. So you go traveling in Mexico and somebody tried to kidnap you, so how to do that. There's a lot of course about kind of that now, but they're more military oriented, like the Siri and how to escape restraints, which is important as well. But the whole lock picking and stuff, which is, it's not bad, but I think there's other skills that you don't need to go that route. There's other skills a little bit more, and so that's why I like more those courses about Heat, because they're more towards like civilians, less military. On the suburban one, and there's kind of a side project of that project that I was working on, which I call the MacGyver week, and basically it's kind of 5 days. If you would have to have a course on 5 days, where would you try to learn? And so basically now what I'm practicing is chemistry, mechanical, and electronics, because that was kind of the three things in the suburban. So if you don't have resource, how can you recreate resource? Like how can you melt a can of sodas to make aluminium so that you can make yourself some tools? How can you use some products around you to change? So that's why I call it a MacGyver week, because that's what he does, right? He looks under the cupboards, he found some products, boom, he's mixing X with Y, and suddenly he has a bomb. So yeah, how can you recreate some of the chemical elements that we have around us? How can we do, I was watching a YouTube video on how to recycle your plastic bags to make plastic sheets. And so there's a lot of bags now that you can just melt and they'll make plastic sheet. Well, then plastic can become very important, because you could make a container with them, you could do all sort of things with the plastic sheet that you have. Those are the kind of skills I'm looking for the suburban, and also like gardening and all that, like, because you'll be able to hold off more your food and stuff. So you see, it's a different set of skills. And then for the austere environment, that's more the like right now what I'm looking at is the coastal survival. So like if I'm on the water, what can I do? Like if I'm on an island or something like that, fishing, and what can I use? Seafood and stuff, because that's more the environment that I am. Mountains I'm a little bit more familiar with because I'm already doing that. But that tools, you see, kind of refocus me. Oh yeah, okay, that's what I need to do, and that's what I need to get through and stuff. Because sadly, and this was part of the tools, is that there's so many things that we need to know if you look at all, if you want to be prepared for everything, or which is kind of impossible. But if you want to be having a good 80%, 90% prepared, I find with this tools is that it prepares you, because now if I'm in the middle of nowhere without my kit, I'm still able to use my soft skills to get me out of that, and my knowledge. So like, if I know about chemistry, any household have those chemistries, so now I can make something out of the household ingredients, and I'll find for whatever things I need. If I understand mechanical principles, that means I can create like rope system or other system to do livers or anything like this. Basic chemical, mechanical system, just like electronics, same thing. So now I have like a radio, but it's broken. Now I can repair it. So with I have those skills, that means I can scavenge, and when I'm from scavenging, I can do that. And so that's why I thought suburban is a little bit more what's going to do. You're going to scavenge and find, because you won't be in the big city, having kind of all those things around you. Yes, when you're in the big city, you'll be able to scavenge them and maybe fight for them, but like you find a place that has depending again of the scenario, and that's another talk for another video, but you'll be able to find a little bit more resource over here. So so that's what the triangle is. Hopefully it will help some people, and I'm looking forward for your comments.